All right, this is Math 102. This is the second part of 16.2. So now we're going to be working with odd middle term coefficients. So the steps are just the same. The only difference is that now we're going to have fractions that we're going to have to work with both when we simplify our constants and when we factor, okay? So we're still going to add 5 to both sides, get that constant on the other side. X squared minus 7x, we're going to add our blank. We get 5 plus blank, okay? Now, we're going to take half of this middle coefficient, which is odd, so that gives us negative 7 halves, okay? Usually, it's just going to have that top number on top of the 2, and then we're going to square it, which means that it's going to be positive 49 fourths that goes in the blanks. Now, if you can remember, when you factor this, it's always going to be this number inside the parentheses. So x minus 7 half quantity squared. Now, this is going to take a little bit of work, okay? So basically what you want to do is you want to turn that 5 into a number that has a denominator of 4. So 5 times 4 is 20, 1 times 4 is 4, and now I can add 49 fourths. And that's going to be 69 fourths. Okay? Then we're going to take, different color, sorry. Then we're going to take the square root of the left and the square root of the right. This is going to cancel, so I get x minus 7 halves equals, I still need the plus or minus, and then I'm going to break this up as the square root of 69 over the square root of 4, which is going to be the square root of 69 over 2. This number should always match that number. Okay? And then last but not least, I am going to add 7 halves to both sides. So x equals 7 halves plus or minus the square root of 69 over 2. Now, you can write this like this if you would like, so that you have just one denominator. You can write it either way. You can separate the plus and minus, so you could have 7 plus the square root of 69 over 2 and 7 minus the square root of 69 over 2. I believe Hawks will let you do it anyway. I would just be careful, making sure that making sure that the plus or minus is in the correct spot, okay? All right, so let's try this one. So we're going to add 10. So we get x squared plus 5x plus blank is equal to 10 plus blank. Then I will take half of 5, which is 5 halves. I will square it, which gives me 25 fourths, and that goes in both blanks. Okay, to factor this, I'm going to have x, whatever this number is, in the parentheses, quantity squared, equals, and then I have to work with this over here. So I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. So that gives me 40 fourths plus 25 fourths, which makes 65 fourths. And that goes here. Then I can take the square root. I get x plus 5 halves equals plus or minus. And I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of 65 and the square root of 4, which is 2. So I'm going to just kind of do this over here so that you can see what I'm doing. and that gives me that. And I don't think, let me see, 65 divided by 5. Yeah, 65 doesn't have a perfect square in it. So now we are going to subtract 5 halves. So we get x equals negative 5 halves plus or minus the square root of 65 over 2. And again, we can write it all over one denominator if we choose. Okay? All right, so again, you can see that nothing really changes. It's just a matter of dealing with fractions. That's the only bad thing. So we add 2. We get x squared plus 3x plus blank equals 2 plus blank. We take half of 3, which is 3 halves. We square it, which is 9/4. And that goes in your blanks. Then we factor this one. So again, that becomes x plus whatever this number is in parentheses squared. We need to change this to a fraction, which makes 8/4 plus 9/4, which is 17/4. And that goes down here. Then we take the square root of the left and the square root of the right. So these cancel out. X plus 3 halves equals plus or minus, I'm going to go over here, the square root of 17 over the square root of 4, which is the square root of 17 over 2. So you're going to notice that denominator is always going to come out of the radical, okay? And then all we have to do is move over the 3 halves. And we always put that number in front of the plus or minus. And again, if you want to simplify it by writing it over one denominator, since they are the same, you can. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to make another video for this last section.